Right. Well, when we were first approached about this idea that Do You Realize was going to be voted on, and I would say there was a lot of songs that people were given an opportunity to vote on. So, of a lot of local artists, and I didn't know all of them, but there was a lot of songs, and I didn't know if I thought this was a good thing or a bad thing. I didn't really know all the people that were involved in the sort of, the making of this thing. You talk to Joe, and obviously once you get to know Joe, you see how much he loves music and believes in the Flaming Lips and these ideas that are represented in the song Do You Realize?
I was approached by the Oklahoma History Center and the Film Music Commission to work on a resolution originally in 2008. They wanted to do a build-up to the exhibit at the History Center promoting another Hot Oklahoma Night with a rock and roll history of Oklahoma. And we ran a resolution to create a commission to collect nominations on the various rock songs in Oklahoma.
But I didn't know all that when it was just sort of proposed to me, and I didn't know if I wanted this song that I know. To me, I know it's just a song, but has taken on a life of meaning a lot more to a lot of people. And I had never considered, what that meant until this state rock song sort of idea came up.
I think most people believe the Flaming Lips have always done exactly what they wanted, exactly the way they've always wanted to. And there's a great deal of truth in that. They really have, on an artistic level, done exactly what they wanted to.
But once it won, and once we sort of settled into this idea that it was, people really liked this song, and when the governor sort of explained to me what his version of his take on what he considered what the lyrics could mean in these ideas that you have to embrace this life that's here with you, and we don't want to be tricked by the illusions of what the world can be. I thought, well, sure, that's true about this song as well. To me, it's not. I have never viewed Do You Realize as the greatest song ever, but a lot of people really like it, and I have embraced that about it.
I had voted for Leon Russell in the competition myself because Leon was born in my district and I was more familiar with his music.
And then once we won this vote, or however you want to call it, we were invited out to the Capitol to do this sort of ceremony celebrating this great overwhelming vote that we got. Now, we knew that we won, otherwise we wouldn't be going out there, but we were going to act like we just got word that we won, and we were going to happen to be at the Capitol when we got the news.
I brought the guys from the band over, and we recognized them on the House floor. Well, didn't really notice it that close, but Michael Ivins was wearing a Hammer and Sickle t-shirt, and there was a little bit of an uproar about that, but nobody really said anything to me that day.
And they were having a session. I don't want to diminish what we think of the important stuff that they're doing over there at the Capitol. And I felt a little bit embarrassed about the idea that they were talking about some kind of medical care that they were going to be giving some of these soldiers that were in Iraq. And they stopped the session talking about this stuff that seemed fairly important to give the Flaming Lips this sort of congratulations for winning this state rock song. So you're already kind of struggling with a lot of this can seem kind of silly. And we didn't know when we went over to the state capitol what this was going to be. To think that they're going to stop the complete Senate chamber and everybody's going to stand up and for 20 minutes all we're going to talk about is how great the Flaming Lips are would be a little bit presumptuous. We almost assumed that we would just be drinking some Kool-Aid in the parking lot with two people and that'd be the end of it. And so we went over there not expecting to have our picture taken for 4 hours with everybody that worked at the Capitol.
All right, well, that's a lot of people just assumed he was making a political statement when he wore the t-shirt, and I asked him about it after the fact, and we got the photos, and being a politician, I made sure that the photos I had, you really couldn't tell what it was, because you do get grief from some people just assuming the worst.
And Michael wore what he had been wearing, a t-shirt that my wife Michelle had given him for Christmas, which is an outdated communist flag symbol of the hammer and sickle. It's a fairly popular, iconographic, whatever you want to call it, symbol. It's a cool-looking symbol regardless of what it really means anymore. I don't know. But anyway, one of the senators there, who I'm sure, I'm coming to his defense, probably represents a very small community in Oklahoma. I'm sure he went to church that Sunday, and they said, I saw some pictures of the guys in the Flaming Lips, and they're communists, and I don't think any communists deserve to have the state rock song of Oklahoma. And they came back the next week and sort of, I guess wanted to reject the vote of the people now that this new evidence had come to light or whatever.
I talked to the floor leader about getting the resolution scheduled, and he kept delaying it, said there was a problem with the vote. And so kept delaying it. So finally, the last day, he assured me that we would get it on the floor. Well, it came up on that deadline day, the final piece of legislation we were going to consider. And we'd waited so late that several of the members had left. I believe it was 13 members were gone that afternoon. And to get something passed in an official capacity at the Capitol, you have to get 51 votes out of the 101 in the House of Representatives. And we were only able to get 48 votes. So SJR 24 died, and that's when the uproar started. And in fact, you could read it in the LA Times, and the headlines are the Flaming Lips too communist for Oklahoma.
And we were stripped of our title of having the state rock song. But it was only momentarily, because this became kind of an issue that represented, and I don't believe this is true, but I think it started to stand as an incident, a thing where Oklahoma was moving ahead to be seen as being a more welcoming and a more progressive place that would have a group, a living group, not a person that's been dead for 30 years like a Woody Guthrie. I love Woody Guthrie, but I think the idea that someone is alive and breathing right now could represent our state as well. I think that's what the governor, and I think that's what Joe intended for this. That these people that are making music right now, they're known all around the world. Why can't we celebrate them right here? And for whatever the reason, I think whether it was me or another musician, I would think that's a great idea. So the governor came to our defense and said, no, I know these people, and they are not communists, and just because a person wears a T-shirt isn't anything to judge them by. And he said that the state rock song vote stands, and we had a big deal about it the next week at the Capitol.
Michael, by his own words, he said, sometimes a T-shirt is just a T-shirt. And I actually told him I was going to use that line, and in my speech at the proclamation signing, that was the loudest round of applause that day, people agreeing that people read too much into things sometimes. You look out throughout history, too. I mean, you've seen Woody Guthrie, even Garth Brooks, and some of the things that have gone on with him. There's always that underlying current within Oklahoma of not wanting to embrace something that's not in the norm. And that's tough in the entertainment industry. You have a lot of men and women who reach that pinnacle of their career, and it's not through a way that's maybe not controversial. And so you have to recognize the talent. You have to look past some of the antics and realize what they're bringing as far as a contribution.
If you remain true to your own vision and follow this path and don't steer away from it, you can be successful, even being the strangest band in the universe.
You see how much time and effort and care and love sometimes is put into these things, and what music means to a place, and the things that we say to each other, and the things that we believe, and all that sort of stuff, how it gives meaning to what your life can be about. And so I accept all that. I could say, it's just, to me, I could say it's just a song, but as it grows and starts representing other things, I could say, well, it represents that as well, but I don't really have that much to do with that. I stand here as Wayne, and yes, it is our song, but what happens to it sometimes is really, for better or for worse, sometimes is really out of your control. That was, to me, all turned out for the better. I think everybody involved in it came across as very, we respected the other side, but we were glad that we got our way.
that